a hostile work environment. Hey you, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Jenny Knows and I'm a licensed psychotherapist. Today we're breaking down The Devil Wears Prada, discussing the themes I noticed while watching the movie. So if you're interested, please keep on watching. Okay, so let me set the scene for you. The movie opens up with the ladies getting ready, they're putting their makeup on, their underwear and bras are matchy, and here's Andy just throwing everything on last minute and running out the door. No care for how she gets herself ready in the morning. And you can see that transformation from that Andy to the new Andy later on in the movie. When Miranda arrives to work, she's earlier than everyone expected.
Gird your loins!
But she has this community around her that is planning for her every need. So they're expecting her at 9, but she's coming early because something else happened. So the driver is texting this person who's telling this person. And you could see the whole environment is changing. People were relaxed. They had comfortable shoes on. People are changing into high heels. They are just nervous and anxious. Emily's going to pour water. Andy's like, what is going on? Nigel's over here telling everybody to get ready, get ready. You can even see someone refreshing their lip gloss, refreshing their makeup. This is such a hostile work environment. And you could see how they were getting ready for her. I mean, y'all, this was a whole production. That system was like a well-oiled machine, and this is all because they were scared of Miranda. They were scared. So now let's talk about the themes that I noticed throughout the movie. I noticed 2 themes: a hostile and toxic work environment, and unrealistic expectation. Let's get into it. So let's start with the toxic and hostile environment. When Andy first meets Miranda, she's calling her Emily. She doesn't even bother to learn her name, but she's throwing her jacket on her desk like, put that away. And when Andy dares stand up for herself and correct her like, hey, my name's not Emily, Miranda gives her a look like, how dare you? And everyone in the room is just looking scared, like, why would you do that? Why would you say that? It's almost like they want to yell at her too. So it's like she's the new girl standing up for herself, setting some little boundary maybe. And here comes Miranda attacking her for it, and the other people in the room attacking her with their eyes and their looks. There was also this part in the movie where she looked at Andy up and down like the outfit she wore was like a mortal sin. She was like killing people or something like that. It was ridiculous. And I felt like the way she looked at Andy up and down was a way to make her feel like she was nothing, like she was trash on the side of the road. I can't imagine what Andy must have felt in that moment. I mean, how would you feel if your boss looked at you this way? I've never worked in fashion, but I've worked in exploitative areas like social work. And you can see how disheartening this environment is. It's not a safe place for you to bloom, for you to grow. It's not. And Andy ends up like telling Emily, like, you all met me this way. You hired me this way. Why would you treat me like this, basically? Like, this is me. She didn't come in with full designer outfits. She came in with an outfit she felt confident in. And they were like, no. They made sure to tell her that she was not in appropriate fashion wear. There was constant body shaming throughout this movie. Miranda called her fat. Nigel saying a size 6 is basically a size 14.
0 became the new 2.
I'm a 6.
Which is the new 14.
Nigel was also looking at her food down at the cafeteria like, is this what you're eating? Like, no, that's not healthy. Basically saying that. And y'all, Emily was barely eating. She was skin and bones and not even eating carbs. Y'all, I love some bread. The public shaming was so hard, I couldn't deal with that. Miranda reprimanded Emily in front of Andy on her first day of work. Like, it was absolutely ridiculous. Nobody could go unscathed. Nobody. You should never publicly embarrass your employees as an employer. This is not creating a safe environment. It's not. I mean, you could see people giving ideas in the room, getting shut down. It was like, are these people going to be confident to share ideas, to share good ideas when they have them? Probably not. So this led to an environment where everybody loved fashion so much that they just had to be on their P's and Q's. They just had to be as perfect as they could be for Miranda. Because they were scared of Miranda, they all kind of became this tight-knit group that formed because of negativity. They all had something to relate to. Miranda was terrible and she didn't treat them well. And these types of bonds are not always great. And I'll tell you why later. But you can see this is something that often happens in hostile work environments. When I worked in child welfare, it was like this. Everyone understood that this was a terrible place to work because they didn't care about the employees. And it was just was not a safe place for you to be. They had these goals and expectations. They were severely understaffed and they expected so much from you. I mean, I was working like 80 hours a week. It was not a great place to be in. And something I noticed is that because she created that toxic environment, everyone became her. They took on her personality to check each other. Like I mentioned before, Nigel telling Andy that she was pretty much fat. It came from the top and trickled down. I mean, at this point, Andy's working basically 24/7 and she can barely afford her bills. Like, she's working so much that she's not even able to get another job. Emily wasn't even nice to Andy.
Be back in 15 minutes. Wish me luck. No.
When Emily gets sick, Andy tries to be nice and talk to her, and Emily is just so rude. And this is the thing of trying to be perfect for Miranda. When Emily gets sick, she invites Andy as a way to back up Emily. And Andy ends up helping out and, you know, getting an answer right during the benefit. But guess what? Miranda bred an environment where the employees were tight-knit, but in competition with each other. And that's what I was talking about before. Later on in the movie, Andy gets invited to Paris over Emily, who was supposed to go to Paris before. But because Emily is sick and gets into a car accident, Miranda's like, no, I need the best. So she didn't care about your feelings. She didn't care about your expectations. She didn't care that you were perfect all the time. She cared about what benefited her. And that's what you have to remember when you're working in these types of environments. Notice and take note. It was a dog-eat-dog world. I mean, Andy started becoming Miranda. And this is evidenced by her accepting Miranda's invitation to Paris and Miranda telling her, you need to tell Emily because I'm not going to tell her. So not only did she take your spot on the trip, she also had to deliver the news to the person she was taking the trip from. I mean, that was so ridiculous and unfair. This job was so toxic that Andy became this person that she didn't know. Her friends didn't know her. Her boyfriend didn't know her, and no one knew her. In this job, she was also getting Miranda's dry cleaning, doing Miranda's kids' homework. I mean, when did Andy have time for Andy at this time? There was no time for her, no time for her friends. She was constantly late to their birthdays. So now let's move on to unrealistic expectations. And you can see this when Miranda calls Andy like, hey, I need you to get me a plane back home so I can see my daughter's recital. And Andy's like, okay, let me get on it. And she realized the reason Miranda couldn't get home was because there was a hurricane. A hurricane, y'all. She expected Andy to get her a flight from wherever she was back to New York during a hurricane. It was something that was impossible. And the next day, she is shaming Andy and saying somebody didn't get me to my daughter's recital or whatever she said. It was just inappropriate.
This recital was absolutely wonderful. Everyone loved it, except me.
She also had these last minute requests. Like when I mentioned the Harry Potter book, she wanted it that same day. How do you get an unreleased book the same day? I mean, thankfully Andy was able to solve that problem, but that was very unrealistic. And I forgot to mention this earlier, she also had to go get Miranda's brakes checked. Like, so many lines were crossed. I can't imagine having to do all of that. Watching this movie reminded me of my days in the child welfare system and how toxic it was. But I never had to do my manager's kids' homework. I never had to get their car fixed. I never had to get their laundry. It was just very toxic. I was so shocked watching this movie to see that people had to do something like this in their jobs. But I can also empathize with Andy because she decided not to go to law school, so something had to work.
The year that could be me. I swear, this is my break.
So that was some of the motivation behind why she let Miranda treat her this way. Yes, she wanted to please Miranda, but she also wanted to be a writer, and that was basically her driving force. I don't know if you all ever graduated from undergrad, grad school, your student loans are coming, if you had to take them out. I remember feeling that way. I had to accept this job. I had to move away for that job. I had to because I needed to start paying my student loans back. I had that humongous pressure on me. And there's that post-grad depression, post-grad anxiety where you're like, oh my God, I need to get a job. I need to secure the job because student loans were like, in 6 months, you need to start paying. So I really empathize with her because a lot of times these jobs have unrealistic expectations. They do. And that's just the honest truth. And I think any social worker can really relate to a toxic environment like this. I mean, if you look at it in Andy's mind, she really was trying her best to be there for her loved ones. She decided not to go to an event with the writer because she wanted to be there for her boyfriend's birthday. But when she got there, she was extremely late and he was not happy. However, in the end, seeing Miranda's life was a wake-up call for Andy. And I think she especially got that wake-up call when Miranda was like, I see a little bit of myself in you. Andy was like, you do? I don't want to be that way. Andy saw Miranda's marriage falling apart. I mean, getting a divorce and really getting several divorces, not being there for her children's accomplishments. And even before the divorce came, you could see a clip in the movie where Andy goes to drop off the book, and you could see how Miranda and her spouse are arguing because she stood him up at the restaurants.
Nobody could get a signal.
There he is, waiting for her again.
So she was not present in her life. She was only present at work. And Nigel said a quote about this: if your personal life is falling apart, then you're about to get a promotion. And it was sad, y'all. Miranda did Nigel so dirty. So dirty. Miranda didn't even have enough empathy for herself to allow herself to grieve when her husband filed for divorce. But let's get the press ready. Andy's like, are you okay? What's going on? She didn't care to discuss it. She was just like, we have work to do. And like I mentioned with Miranda stepping over Nigel for her own self, it really showed you that in Miranda's world, you were not worth anything. She could throw you away at any moment for her benefit. It was all about her. She was the most important person there. She was always the most regarded. Forget you. But this is also where Andy saw that connection, that actually you did this too. You stepped over Emily to go to Paris. Something you knew Emily really wanted. So, and you could also see this in the writer that was ready to have Miranda fired, saying Miranda's gonna be fine. And then he got knocked over too when Miranda made the announcement like, hey, this person got the job. And it was like, whoa, I thought I was going to get the job. Y'all, this movie was so sad, but unfortunately a representation of many, many different types of workplaces. Can you work with someone who has these different traits? I don't know. This is completely up to you. And let me know in the comments. If you decide to work with them, here are some tips. You need to set boundaries, and you need to set them as early as possible. Not only do you need to set the boundaries, you need to be firm in them. You need to hold to them and never bend. Unfortunately, you can't trust this person. You can't, because they'll throw you away at a moment's notice. You should always also manage your expectation with this type of person. And this one is very important. Remind yourself that you're valuable, that you're doing great. And lastly, just quit. There's no way this job is good for your body long term. There's no way. While I was watching this movie, this was my second time watching this movie because I've seen it before. I wanted to get my razor back, y'all. That was my first phone, was the razor, and I wanted it back because I was like, cloop. When you're hanging off the phone after talking to someone, it made me want it back. And also, why is Anne Hathaway always in a movie where they have to upgrade her? I.e. The Princess Diaries. And if you want me to review that movie, let me know in the comments. It's one of my favorites. Let me know if you want me to review it. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you. As always, if you're interested, please do me a favor. Like, comment, and subscribe. That would really help me out. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments. Bye, y'all.